The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the sharpest Satoshis, the best Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists. Ben Ark from BTC IoT.
Shemai all.
Josh Gagala from Voltoro.
Good evening.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue one. Issue one, Venezuelan army starts mining Bitcoin for unblockable income. Venezuela, the subject of harsh sanctions and restrictions from the United States, has begun mining Bitcoin with the army as a goal of generating unblockable income, bypassing U.S. sanctions. Ben Ark, will this new Venezuelan program be successful? Will they create unblockable income?
Well, yeah, I mean, as you said, harsh sanctions. So, a lot of these sanctions, which have been levied on some of the Latin American countries, have been largely throughout the world. Much of the world classed them as illegal sanctions. And I think with, last year with Trump and with an America First policy, which has a real negative effect on a lot of these countries, they feel more and more that, and particularly, I suppose, with the US being than the US dollar becoming weaker as a world reserve currency, they're worried that those death throes of that dying hegemony is going to some way impact them in a negative way. And yeah, it makes sense for them to have a way of being able to conduct commerce among each other, which isn't reliant upon the US dollar. And when if they wanted to shift to another currency, then they're going to be in the same boat of being dependent upon that currency and the nation which prints that currency. So Bitcoin is absolutely perfect for them, and it makes perfect sense. A lot of people are worried about the fact that a state is mining Bitcoin, but I think it's just the inevitable and that they're first of many who are going to be joining them and mining Bitcoin, accumulating Bitcoin. There was a great tweet by Marty Bent, actually, which is having a digital currency makes the need for the US dollar less relevant. But other than sovereign nations to hold in reserves, said another way, the world is being freed from the shackles of being forced to conduct most international trade with the sovereign currency of one nation. The fact that Bitcoin exists and provides a global market with an apolitical distribution of peer-to-peer currency that cannot be controlled by one nation, central bank, or corporation means that the days of the dollar being a world reserve currency are numbered. It's only a matter of time. And I think it's absolutely correct. Can you imagine a world? I mean, I've mentioned it a few times on this show. That in Bretton Woods there was this proposal by Keynes for the Bancor, which was trying to produce an apolitical currency, which is going to be controlled in a federated way amongst the nations involved in it, with the idea that having a political currency as the world reserve currency isn't particularly good. And if Harry Dexter White hadn't had his way and come out of the Bretton Woods meetings with the dollar as a world reserve currency, and had there been something which was apolitical, then I imagine that a lot of these sort of proxy wars and things which happened to keep the dollar in vogue and in power wouldn't have happened, and the last century would have been a lot more peaceful. I mean, I imagine, I don't know. So yeah, there's this gift which has been given to humanity, which is apolitical money, and I think that now nation states are waking up to it, particularly those who are oppressed by the US dollar and want something which is unstoppable and isn't within their control. And Bitcoin is absolutely perfect for that. So they're one of many, and it will just propagate, and more countries will do this.
Sounds like the beginning of a Bitcoin century. Josh Gagala.
The history keeps repeating itself. The denarius was, which was the coin, the money of the ancient Rome. That was invented I think it was 277 BC, and it lasted for a long time. I think 54 after AD. Something like that. It was a long time, and it was made up of 250 grains of gold. But what happened is this the art of gold shaving, shaving off the coin. And I'll get to why this is to do with the same thing, is that the gold coins were always used to pay the army and to support the emperors. And why was it the army so important? Because the next thing was silver, which was used for international trade, and the least valuable was copper, which was used for people, the commoners. But the army, just like the emperors, got the gold coins. Of course, then what happened was they would start to shave off bits as they got poorer and poorer, and they had this massive empire to control, and they would send people, these young kids, to sit on top of a wall for their entire adult life, and they'd come back sort of a crippled mess, like but these people would sit up there and they'd expect to be paid, and eventually when they didn't get paid, that's exactly what generally happens to most states, is they get overthrown by who? The army, because they end up not paying them anymore. So this is this old shaving gold off the sides of these coins, and that's why coins have ridges on them, is to see that you haven't been shaved, like that the coin you're getting is actually this many grams of gold, or grains of gold back then. So now what seems to be happening is that they're saying, hey, the army, we need to give the army the best currency, because otherwise they'll overthrow us. And what is the best currency right now? The one that you cannot debase? Well, that's Bitcoin. And if Venezuela can actually try to use, first of all, refine the oil reserves that they've got, the huge, vast amounts of oil that they have. Venezuela should be one of the richest countries in the world. Of course, they're not. They're one of the poorest because of a corrupt, ridiculous system. So what do you want to do when you have a corrupt, ridiculous system where everyone's starving? Well, you pay the bloody army first. And that's what they're doing.
He who controls the mind controls the country. I just think it's really futuristic here that we're talking about Venezuela, the country, and the army officially mining Bitcoin. I think we're going to see a lot more of this in the future. Remember, in William Gibson's books, he predicted data havens in Brazil. So we're starting to get there. Certain things, computers are moving to certain countries, and it's starting to spread out, as well as what Ben said about the dollar no longer being the default currency. Venezuela making a move like this, who could move next? Which goes well with our exit question. What country will mine Bitcoin officially next? Or, spoiler, who's already mining now? Ben Ark.
I mean, China? Any country which wants to escape US dollar hegemony. I can't even say hegemony, but there we are. But I imagine there's lots of countries already mining in one way or another Bitcoin, but not officially. But China probably officially soon, particularly with their new reserves they've got of Bitcoin, which they got from Plus Token.
Josh Kagala.
China. Yep. I mean, they're already effectively doing that by basically blocking off when they banned the trade of Bitcoin. You've got to think, right? They banned the trade of Bitcoin, yet all mining or most mining or a lot of mining is done in China. So what are these miners doing? How are they selling this? Where are they getting the cash from to pay for the massive electricity that they're using to mine the Bitcoin? They have to trade it. And if trading's illegal in China, well, where are you going to get the money from? You're obviously going to sell it to someone. And I would have to say that it was the state all along buying this stuff and hodling. So I would say China actually started it first.
It's a trick question. The correct answer is intelligence agencies. Intelligence agencies all over the world will begin mining Bitcoin, Monero, and other privacy-centric coins, generating their own funds so they can finally do their own operations just like they've always wanted. Moving on to issue 2. What's coming to the new Bitcoin Core wallet in 0.21? The new version of Bitcoin Core wallet is coming out, featuring descriptor wallets and solving major problems with legacy wallets designed by Satoshi himself. Originally, wallets were focused on only holding keys, but now Bitcoin has a powerful scripting system, descriptor wallets, and more. A new SQL-like backend is being implemented, solving many problems with Berkeley DB. Josh Gagala, your thoughts about the new Bitcoin Core wallet?
I love that it's only up to 0.2. That's amazing. One thing I really wish that the core wallet would also focus a little bit on the second layer stuff. I don't know, like if that's a smart thing or not, but I really wish Bitcoin would push forward with the second layer, because as you know, PayPal and all these big players are coming in now, and people are buying Bitcoin and wanting to use it. You know, this whole HODL meme, it's fun and all, but I think it's important that we start getting Lightning to be used, because there's the other currencies will ride off the back of this. We saw this in the last 2017 hit, is when Bitcoin started becoming so expensive, and all these other currencies were like, "Whoa, I'm the next Bitcoin. I'm the next Bitcoin. By the way, I'm only down at $1, so invest in me instead of Bitcoin, because I can move for like cents." And and they would use all of that against this. And I really think it's important that Bitcoin focus on that second layer solution now. It's what everything the community's been fighting for to get, and I'd love to see. I mean, I don't really, technically know if that's a good thing. It's probably a lot of Lightning stuff. Ben, you can probably answer this a lot better than I. A lot of the Lightning stuff should be separate, is what I think they would say to me, is that they shouldn't be together. The core should be its thing, and it should be made better on chain, but Lightning should be the next protocol above that. I don't know. So I just said one thing and then said the others. I don't know.
Ben Ark.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously they're mindful of Lightning Network doing so well, and they want to try and facilitate it doing well. But I know there's a lot in 0.2.1. Sorry, 0.21, still beta. It's a warm blanket beta, but we're still there. We're never going to get to 1. It's been 12 years. But no, so one of the big things is the descriptor wallets as opposed to kind of a key-based wallet. But it means that, Taproot, when that comes in, which looks like it will come in, where Miner supports at like 86% or something. When it comes in, it'll be very easy to make wallets with Taproot support with these new improvements, which are in 0.21. So it's not been released yet, but it's the new release candidate. So please do, everybody out there, download, run it, play around with it, see if you can break it, try and break it. If you can, then get back in contact with, you shouldn't be able to, but if you can, then get back in contact on the GitHub and raise some issues. It's really helpful for the developers. And the SQLite thing is cool. I mean, like, I've only really played around with like MySQL and I don't know, a couple of other database systems, but we use SQLite in LMBits. And an SQLite database is essentially just like a little text file, which all the database information is in. So you can kind of put them anywhere and store them in any folder. So it just kind of makes it means you can play around with the software that little bit more and have databases stored in different places. And SQLite seems to, it's a very good functional database. You can run a big database off it. So that's a good improvement too. But no, I think the real news is the descriptor wallets, and then its support for Taproot, which then again, Taproot, it will make when you throw up a Lightning channel, that it won't be obvious that you're throwing up a Lightning channel. It'll just look like a normal transaction, and then all that complex scripting will just be hidden and hashed away, so it just look like a normal transaction. So I think it benefits everyone. So not just, you know, Lightning, it benefits the core transactions as well, obviously having Taproot. So on-chain transactions as well, having Taproot. So yeah, it's there's a lot packed in there. They still haven't got, what's the thing I've been waiting for forever? And it's Assume UTXO, which was a concept by one of the core devs. And that would mean that you could run a node and then the node would be instantly functional and kind of like be a prune node. And then in the background, then it would just download blocks. It would mean that if you were like running a my node or a blitz or some like a full node, that you could instantly play around with it. Well, after like a few gigs worth of download, and then, you know, your shitty internet can carry on downloading blocks for weeks. It doesn't matter, and eventually you'll end up with a full node. I really want that to come in, but I think that's a little bit further. But I actually, for some reason, I thought it was going to be in this sort of release candidate or something might be pushed in there, but it's not there yet. But no, exciting times, and as always, you know, Bitcoin continues to improve. We shouldn't be dogmatic. The software always changes. So yeah, it's great work, the core guys.
Great work, and Bitcoin improves. Moving on. Did you know you can buy World Crypto Network t-shirts at shop.worldcryptonetwork.com? Yes, that's right. World Crypto Network, the mug, the Treasures Don't Float t-shirt, Bitcoin Not Bombs 2020 Halvening Edition, and World Crypto Network, the shirt, all at shop.worldcryptonetwork.com. Moving on to issue 3. Bitcoin price could hit 50K in 2021. Bloomberg analysts say the price of Bitcoin is rising and the path of least resistance is on the higher side. The cryptocurrency could more than double from its current value in 2021, according to Bloomberg. Josh Gagala, the price of Bitcoin, nowhere to go but up.
I love that, you know, nowadays it's all these like analysts at Bloomberg and these hedge fund managers are coming out of the woodwork as experts on price of Bitcoin. Well, I got to tell you guys, if Bloomberg was such champions of understanding the price, why weren't they there at $1 saying, my God, this is going to 30? This is amazing, or whatever. Like, why is it now that they're all of a sudden experts? You know, they're just carving out the legacy system is trying to keep up with the new system and trying to go, oh, we're still relevant. You know, I would much rather listen to some of the people that are, for instance, on this channel and many other great YouTubers in the crypto space that have been in here for a long time, have understood the patterns a lot better than some of these so-called analysts who are sitting there from the old stock exchange trying to analyze why, you know, why I don't know, airline stock goes up when they're all grounded and stuff. And so that, you know, at the end of the day, listen to the OGs here, people that have been watching the chart, because Bitcoin has a life of its own. It has its own cycles. It has its own pulse, and it has its own reasons for going up and declining. I'm definitely not saying that they're stupid. These people, they are smart and they'll probably make good calls, but I just feel like we should support the community rather than looking at the old guard and saying, "Ooh, they're so good at this now too." You know, let's support us as a community.
I agree with Josh, and I do have an update from watching CNBC. They used to have Bitcoin in a strange white box. It didn't quite fit in with the rest of their graphics. It looked like it was hastily added, like add that Bitcoin thing in. And after a while, as the price of Bitcoin went down, the box disappeared and they stopped talking about Bitcoin. Well, now the Bitcoin's in a different place. It's down where the Dow Jones is. It's where the large stock exchange averages are, and it pops through the rotation just like the other stock exchanges. Not just a stock, but an entire stock exchange. So it's interesting to see these people change their tune slowly. I agree with Josh. Where have they been the entire time? Nothing has changed about Bitcoin. All the things that we said 6 and 7 years ago now are all the same things that they're saying. They're like, wow, this could really be a thing. But the way they say it, it's like they just discovered it. So that's fun to watch. Ben Ark.
I mean, a few things have changed. Obviously, I mean, the software, as we said, continues to get better. And then I really think with the SegWit getting in and the users proving that they're the ones who actually control Bitcoin in a truly decentralized way was huge for Bitcoin. I mean, obviously, these people who are making these calls aren't thinking of these things, but, a lot of like us sort of, crypto anarchist types or anyone who's into cryptography and whatever, we could kind of see the value in Bitcoin and thought it was cool, and we could send value and blah, 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 and between each other. But, it's proved itself as a functional and resilient system. It's continued to march on, not only in price, but in technological advancement. So there has been a lot more value added to Bitcoin. But I mean, these people are just, they're what's in vogue, aren't they? They'll move money around to whatever is that they see as something which is going to be resilient and is going to be stable. And now with the price becoming, getting to these sort of eye-watering high amounts, although in saying that, I mean, obviously when it hit $1, people thought that was eye-watering within the community of Bitcoin. But like we've known for years that this is a great technology, continues to develop, get better, prove itself. But now I think it's proved itself, and all these other people are getting on board. We're still early though. These people who are predicting high price points for Bitcoin in legacy finance, they're still early. It's still a very niche asset class, which few people are actually into and interested in. Like you say, it just pops up now on their trading platforms as another option for them. But they're still yet to realize the true significance of Bitcoin and what it can become.
Exit question. The price of Bitcoin this time next week, higher or lower? Josh Kagala.
I think it's going to go lower next week. Yeah.
Ben Ark.
Price, higher.
Higher or lower?
Higher, baby.
Higher.
You in the chat, what do you think? Let us know in the chat, higher or lower. Also, give us a thumbs up and a share. Subscribe down below. Ben and Josh are going to be giving away Satoshis at the end of the show, so get your Lightning wallet ready. Oh, is this it now? You want to show it now, Ben?
There's a faucet there, bitches. Get some, stack some sats. You're mooning.
There you
so
go.
hit
Ben
some
is
stats.
testing out the new Lightning wallet.
Sponsored by LM Bits. Tell me if it works. Hopefully it'll work. Scan that with your Lightning wallet and then get some sats.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you tweet and subscribe, I've got to get more organized because I definitely don't want to do it on chain.
I'll do it next time.
We'll do it next time. But
no, man, pop in. Can you stick it? I don't know. I mean, like, I know URLs, they get pulled out, don't they, out of the chat? Someone stick an invoice in the chat for why don't we just tell everyone to stick an invoice in the chat for like 10,000 Satoshis? And then we'll just pick a random one.
In the chat. Do it. 10,000 Satoshi invoices in the chat.
Time is running out. The chat closes when the show ends. Moving on to the next issue. Why Cuba is primed for Bitcoin adoption. Just like we've been talking about for years, Cuba has all the problems of a developing nation. Remittances, economic problems, inflation, and now government problems. And now Western Union is ceasing operations in Cuba this month, making it nearly impossible for millions of Cuban Americans to send remittances back home. This looks like a job for Bitcoin. Ben Ark, is this it? Is Bitcoin about to be adopted in Cuba?
Sure, it's very popular in Cuba as a concept. And now Venezuela are now mining Bitcoin for, to try and avoid sanctions. Obviously, Cuba have been at the blunt end of I think it's the longest running historically sanctions by the US. So, yeah, of course they are. They're very ripe for Bitcoin adoption. Let's hope it happens. It's great when you see people using this technology in the way it's supposed to be used. and that's avoiding control and sanctions, and just being able to freely send value to one another. So I think I think it was in Iran, wasn't it? We had some capital controls. Was it last year? And then a lot of Iranians. There was a massive spike in local Bitcoin buying in Iran, and that was great to see. It's when the technology is being used by people for what it needs to be used for. Then it's great to see. So yeah, it's very ripe.
Oh no!
We always talk about what. Oh.
So someone's saying that the URLs don't fit in one message.
That's why we don't test things in the middle of the show. Let's keep going. So we always talk about the Cyprus incident and how Cyprus was more of an example of how Bitcoin could take off during a financial crisis. Now, years later with this Cuba problem, we're a lot closer to having the infrastructure that we need for the people to actually be able to buy Bitcoin and then send it to their relatives as remittances, or even hold it as a hedge against their country's inflation. So I think it's exciting. I'm not sure if we're there yet with Cuba. We keep saying that. It takes a lot of different elements to have this perfect Bitcoin country take off like we want to see. And I'm not quite sure that Cuba is the technological paradise that you're looking for when you think Bitcoin adoption. Josh Gagala, your thoughts on Cuba?
Yeah, I mean, the sanctions is really where states and governments, these mafias that have taken control and you pay protection money to in the form of taxation to protect you from themselves, is really what Bitcoin's there to also get around. Like it's all about the people of Cuba should be able to trade with other people. Trade is the base freedom human right. I mean, it's if you stop people from doing just a win-win trade, a peaceful trade, then that's to me is tyranny. So for Bitcoin to come along, or any cryptocurrency really, that people choose to have a network of, that's the key right there to allowing free trade and prosperity and moving away from these ridiculous global infrastructures of control, and that's what this is all about. That's why rare digital assets are so interesting. But by the way, we just got a message here from Roll and Do Tech asking why gold is going down. And Bitcoin's going up. Are people moving out of gold into Bitcoin? And the thing is that the wider space don't move out of gold and go into Bitcoin. They go out of gold to get back into stocks and equities and everything else that's available to them. They go into gold when they are scared, when they just want to move profits off the table somewhere and wait. And now that we have signs of a vaccine coming out, that we've got, I think that the market is a bit more, they're ready for some more risk appetite in this market. They're seeing Tesla going up and up and up and up, and they're like, so the economy didn't crash. And the matter of fact is, as we know in the crypto space, if we look at the stock exchange a little bit closer, we know that the repo markets have been just basically keeping the entire stock market up. The Fed has been buying the stock market to keep it pumped. You can tell such things because, well, I mean, how do car companies and that are like losing money hand over fist because no one's buying cars? How do airlines keep going up when they're all grounded? It's all nonsense. So, but that money is pouring out of certain assets to have liquidity again to buy into these and to follow some pumps up. I just hope they don't get stuck in the mega if there's a mega drop.
The mega dump
in the stock market. Yeah,
it sucks, man. I mean, I like the idea of monomonetary theory. But, what we've seen with the US and the buying up of stocks and pumping of stock prices is just isn't that kind of the likely outcome of a country which is trying to prove that it's, still liquid and it's businesses are still functional, is to just buy up their stocks. Don't know how you get around that.
Yeah.
Moving on to issue 5. Forget Bitcoin. These cryptocurrencies are surging even more. Speaking of brand new experts, here's CNN Business to tell you everything you need to know about Bitcoin. CNN Business suggests that XRP, the third largest currency, has surged nearly 25%. Litecoin, Polkadot, Cardano, and Stellar are also among the top biggest cryptocurrencies and have also exchanged larger gains. Josh Gagala, why should people buy Bitcoin when they could get these cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I mean, these things do go up, but they're very illiquid as well, compared. Like, that's why they go up. They're not totally illiquid, and some people can make good gains, but I don't think you should be under the delusion that they'll go anywhere. If you can trade them and make some money, good luck to you. Try it, but that's the difference between technical analysis and fundamental analysis. Fundamental analysis says that you want to go with the largest network effect in terms of money. I would say that the network effect like Ethereum has a good network effect, Bitcoin has a good network effect. There are some others, but a lot of them just make a lot of noise. So XRP, I don't see a large network effect. I've never seen one person send XRP from one person to another using a wallet at like a meetup or something. I've seen plenty of people sending Bitcoin, even Bitcoin Cash. But things like XRP is really just a gamble on a number going up and hoping to get on top of that and then selling it again. Some people are like, oh no, but the fundamentals there, it's got to be the next technology for banking infrastructure. I'm like, I don't care what banks use, if they use a multi-sig database or they use XRP, which is pretty much that. So I don't know. These people will come out of the woodworks and tell you something. They always say
there is an interesting story on XRP this week, Josh. They're saying that if there was such a vote, that they could vote to burn their entire treasury of XRP. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why they would. I mean, the guy that started, what's his name? I've forgotten now. It slipped on it. But yeah, he was like the richest in 2017. He became the richest man above Jeff Bezos for like a second there. But there's no way that he could ever sell all that XRP into the market.
He's the richest man on the planet, wasn't he? By far, just for a wee moment there.
For a wee moment, and it was just silly because it's just all just nonsense. I can be the richest man on the planet right now by creating. I'll go on Ethereum. I'll create a coin. I'll create Josh Coin. I'll create a trillion of them. I'll sell you one of them, Ben.
Yeah.
For $1 for a tenner. Yeah, and then I'll be a 10 trillionaire, according to CoinMarketCap, and I'll be the richest man on the planet.
God damn.
I think it would be great. I think they should burn all the ripples. It would be a great big party of burning. And then after that, the bottom would just drop out of it. Because why would that company continue to support it if they didn't own all of it, right? It's much better for them. So, Ben R., can I get you an altcoin? Which one?
Josh Coin. I'm all in Josh Coin, man.
There's a trillion. There's only a trillion of them. So
he sold. I saw it in CoinMarketCap. So it reminds me of Joey. Do you remember Joey Coin? Andreas he used to do the speech. He said, "Little Joey in the playground." He'd have a little Joey Coin. But that was the promise. And to be fair, the idea of being able to just make your own cryptocurrency at one point was very appealing. And I can see why. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, you can just make your own money, and nothing's going to stop you, and you can do it in a sort of decentralized kind of way. But yeah, I mean, it's like you say, it's a gamble. It's gambling. You're probably better off just gambling. If you want to fanny around with shit coins, then go join some gambling site and just play roulette. You probably got better odds. Yeah, some people make some money, but I have met a lot of very, very clever people who've lost a lot of money on playing around with shitcoins, particularly in the Bitcoin space. It's not the sort of thing they talk about publicly, and I wish they would. I really, this is an appeal to those people who lost a lot of money on shitcoins to talk about it more publicly, because you have a few beers with them at these Bitcoin conferences, and they start telling these stories about how they had X amount of thousands of Bitcoin, and then now they're left with 10 Bitcoin after all their shitcoin shenanigans, and trying to diversify over a collection of years. So just stay away from it. It's not worth it. We all know Bitcoin's amazing. It's going to go up. Technology is absolutely phenomenal. It's got a gazillion commodities which haven't even been explored yet. If you're not happy buying something for a relatively low amount now, an amount which feels like quite a lot, but isn't going to ruin you financially, waiting 10 years and then being incredibly rich, then you're a complete idiot, and you shouldn't be allowed to, I don't know. You shouldn't be, yeah. I bumped into a Bitcoiner, or who used to be a Bitcoiner, and in the 2017 pump, they got kind of wrapped up in all the shitcoinery, and I bumped into them, and they said, what did they say to me? They said, she said something about Bitcoin being up in price, and I was like, yeah, it's going up, and I think it's going to go up. And she said, yeah, it's going to go up. And then it was, and then she said, well, I'm all in Holoccoin, and I was thinking, what the fuck is Holoccoin? Like, I've never heard of it. Like, obviously, she bought some pitch and then bought this thing, and is still sat waiting for this, promise, which will never be fulfilled, that it's going to go up. Yeah, it's gambling. It's gambling. Don't do it. And people like this who come out and write these articles saying, oh, Bitcoin's gone up, but what about all these other shitcoin currencies? They're responsible for a hell of a lot of heartache and people losing their money, and yeah, it's I've been very happy so far that there's not been much of that. Most people are just sticking to Bitcoin, and they understand that so many of these other things are just a complete waste of time, particularly things like XRP. It's shit.
It always looks so easy in hindsight. It looks like it was easy money, but they had to be early. They had to know something you didn't know, and you didn't know that. The other thing that looks easy is timing the tops and bottoms of Bitcoin. That looks easy as well, but actually is very hard. Let's move on to the next issue. Don't get caught up in the hype as Bitcoin hovers around 19,000. More people from CNBC are here to tell you the truth about Bitcoin. And they say, even though it's become more commonplace and popular as an investment since its last rally, financial advisors are still wary of the digital currency. Ben Ark, should they be wary of the digital currency?
I don't see hype. Hype was 2017, in a relatively stable world. I don't see hype at all. I just see a bunch of people who are like, God damn, where can I diversify a portfolio of a lot of money? And now they're buying up Bitcoin because it makes a lot of sense, because it's just go and look at the, Bitcoin Core GitHub. Look at what some of these people are building. It's phenomenal, that the amount of innovation which is happening. Bitcoin is pioneering just cryptography in general, because it's such an important technology. So I see no hype. I see a few people interested, a few asset managers buying up some what we think of as large amounts of Bitcoin, but in that world is not that big. So no, I don't even see the hype hasn't even started. Yeah, so
Josh Kagala.
Yeah, hype is something else than what it is now. Now it's just, I think there's Wall Street hype, like behind circles in Zoom conversations of people talking, hey, hedge fund managers going, you know what, my mate did really well. I think that's a good hedge. Hey, look, it didn't disappear on every time it crashed. It came back up and met its all-time highs every time. So that what does that say? And so yeah, the real hype will happen when it hits 100K. That's when you'll just start seeing like screeching from the top of the head, from everywhere, just go, Bitcoin, and calling it this, and all this FUD will come out about. And at the end of the day, the Bitcoin price is just a price. It's something people are willing to pay at the moment. At the end of the day, the fundamentals of Bitcoin hasn't changed, even from $1. I mean, it changed a little bit because we've got SegWit and stuff now. It's a bit more space in the blocks, but fundamentally, it hasn't really changed. So the technology is really important to continue the spread of using this technology, of circumventing sanctions, of actually being useful, because that's what everyone's betting on. As well as the store of value. Of course, it's a store of value. It's the rarest thing on the planet. And that's also there, but I'm just when I see the stuff that's happening on the Lightning Network, how quick it is, all these other coins that are like, oh, it's so quick. Man, all you need is one transaction on chain, and then you're in to this world where you can have infinite transactions on like tiny scale, sub Satoshi. It's just so class. When you see it actually happening. Download a wallet right now for all of you clowns out there that are like shilling some other coin. Just for once, don't just repeat what you're hearing from others. Go and download Zap Wallet. Go and download Blue Wallet or Eclair, one of these Lightning wallets. Do a Bitcoin transaction of a small amount and just try some of the things that are out there to do with Lightning, and some of the great stuff that Ben's working with LN Bits. And it's so good. It's like instant, boom, boom, it's there, boom, already pre-confirmed, wonderful. And that's where the value is going to come in the long term. That's where the big value is going to come from.
I mean, I just shared a little picture on the screen right there, a little scrambly picture, and then someone can scan that with their phone and then pull like value out of a video, which is streaming on YouTube. Yeah. That's amazing, like in itself. That's incredible. It's incredible. Yeah. And there was no, and that transaction which happened over the internet, there was no one had to give any details about themselves, no bank details. There was no, what's the surveillance capitalism happening? There was nothing. It was just a transaction going through, as if I was just throwing money out through the screen into your pocket. Amazing. Yeah,
that is amazing. Hey, by the way, give us a thumbs up, guy. For some reason, we've got 15 thumbs down. I don't know what offensive stuff we've said.
Oh wow, 15 thumbs down.
That's good. That's amazing. We've really offended.
There's some XRPers in the audience.
They get deleted later if they're trolly thumbs.
Yeah. Actually, someone just said I've never used XRP. Actually, I used Ripple before they were even really like around. The original Ripple was like an IOU circle when they first launched, and then I got the first airdrop of Ripple for I think it was 1,000 Ripple back then. Gee, how generous when they had like trillions of the things. This was back when there was no one knew really about Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the tiniest community. Jed McCaleb had gone off and made, I think that's his name, Ripple, and left Mt. Gox. Back then it was something else, and they've pivoted so many times. So, I mean, it's silly to say that I've never used it. I have tried it. And I just think I just don't care. If your pitch is, I'm a new technology for banks to use in the back end, in the back office, I'm like, I don't care what you use in the back office of a bank. I care what people, some little pleb in the mountains of Myanmar can send and buy an MP3 off someone sitting in China without anybody interfering. That's what I care about.
I'm just glad we still have time for hype articles like this from the mainstream media where they can complain about everything. I hope that they have it in themselves to write another article about how Bitcoin are like tulips. Those are my favorites, when they say that the entire tulip thing was hype and that the tulips went down to zero, which isn't true. You still have to pay money for tulips. And when they compare this complex digital internet thing that just allowed you to send money right there through the screen to this plant that had some colors. I love that example. I hope they do it again soon. We'll keep an eye out for that. We're probably going to break the show here in a few minutes. Here we go. Moving on. Oh, I really broke it now. All right, other screen. Moving on to the next issue. Head of the world's largest asset manager says that Bitcoin can possibly evolve into a global market asset. It sounds like Bitcoin is already that thing, but now someone at BlackRock is telling you that it's true. Appeal to authority. Ben Ark. Now that the real money people are here, can Bitcoin possibly evolve into a global market asset?
So possibly, probably, maybe, likely could evolve into a Bitcoin, into an asset market. I mean, the MicroStrategy guy put it best with that quote, which I've already used a couple of times, which is that there's an ocean of, I can't even remember the number, but it's a hell of a lot. It's trillions of assets out there in the world. And then there's this little pond of Bitcoin, which all that, a little bit of that money just needs to flood into Bitcoin, and suddenly it's market value is just much greater than it is now. So yeah, of course, yeah. I mean, it's there. It's already an asset, a global asset for lots of people. So yeah, it's fun. It is fun watching like these people on board, particularly because that guy, I guarantee, like a couple of years ago, was saying, "Ooh, no, Bitcoin. Ooh, no, it's all very risky. I wouldn't go anywhere near it." Ooh. It's amazing, actually. And I do it. There's a while back where I wrote an open letter to Yanis Varoufakis, asking him to reevaluate Bitcoin, because he was always, when he looked at Bitcoin and criticized Bitcoin, I thought out of all of them, like a lot of these sort of criticisms just come. At least he had sort of some, because he was the Greek finance minister during the economic crisis they had there, and he thought about implementing blockchain technology to be used at that particular time. So I asked him to kind of reevaluate Bitcoin and see whether it now has any, with all the innovations with side chains and Lightning and Liquid, and whether he thinks any better of it now. And he actually wrote a letter back, but the letter, I mean, it's kind of disappointing, because I thought, I respect the guy a lot, and his criticisms were still valid if it were Bitcoin of 2012, but it's not Bitcoin of 2012. It's Bitcoin of 2020, and there's a hell of a lot you can do with this technology. And I think it's funny how even people who understand the technology, we still look to some of these outside influencers, and we're like, well, the appeal to authority, like we hope that they will see Bitcoin in for what it is, as a technology, and they don't. And this guy is just like, oh no, it might be an asset class. It's like, okay, well, thanks, thanks for tricking us that bone. Yeah, we just have to sit and wait for the rest of them to catch up, and we're way ahead of the game, just because we have some understanding of what's possible with Bitcoin as a technology.
Josh Gagala, it quacks like a global asset class.
It must be one. I tweeted it the other day. I said, "Oh, it'll evolve, will it?" I mean, it already is. What are you talking about? What are you like? Just shut up. Are these people? No, look, he's obviously a smart guy. He's probably dipping his toes. He's like, oh yeah, it could evolve. Come on, man. Come on, man.
Moving on to the last issue today. Here we go. Screen share. Top currency regulator says to expect clarity in the coming weeks on Bitcoin. Brian Brooks, the acting comptroller of the currency, says new crypto regulations are on the way, but nobody's going to ban Bitcoin. Brooks said that they're focused on getting it right. They're focused on not killing this. And it's equally important that we develop the networks behind Bitcoin and other cryptos and prevent money laundering and terrorist financing. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong warned of the downsides of potential regulation last month. It's December. A new president will allegedly be sworn in on January 20th. Is this a good time to make clarity in crypto regulations? Josh Gagala.
Australia had this problem with these little beetles that would hang on the sugar canes, and they brought in from England these toads that would eat these, and they ended up calling them cane toads. But the cane toads there was an unseen problem that they have all this poison on the back and started poisoning all of the marsupials, the native animals, and it caused massive problems. Till this day, there's huge problems that these cane toads cause because some idiot in government thought they knew better and thought, right, let's just get this, and it was like this old lady that swallowed the fly. She swallowed the fly and then it floated. Like, you end up having to fix on fix on fix on fix. And this is what happens with silly regulations that from people that they don't understand the technology. They put a regulation in, and then it's like they'll go, oh, there's something wrong with that. Let's fix that regulation, then fix that, and then they'll put another thing, and you'll never get true clarity. All you'll get is a huge giant wall, which will be good for businesses like us who have gotten in early, and we can be part of building that wall, and then nicely isolate ourselves from any competition, because any startup can't get in anymore because it's too expensive to jump that wall. And this is exactly what the banks have done in the past. They've used regulators to basically build such massive banking regulation that nobody can ever start and compete. And that's why you never had startups in the business. The first time the word fintech was only really used once for a long, long time during the internet. And that was when PayPal came out. Really, fintech made a renaissance when the Bitcoin white paper was released. That's when fintech started becoming a thing, because it was so out of the box thinking. It was so like the regulations were so built on like protecting the banks from startups, and they didn't realize that, hang on, the internet can also disrupt this and can create something that is so far away from these regulations that it'll be unregulated. And basically this is all that will happen, is that you will create more and more regulations and you'll stop competition. You'll get entrenched oligarchs running huge conglomerates and basically just playing silly buggers. The best thing to do is for governments to stand out of the way, to let the math regulate Bitcoin, to let the mathematics of the protocol regulate Bitcoin. And look, if you're going to get criminals using this thing, then go after the criminals. Do the good old-fashioned police work and go get them. You don't ban shoes because criminals use them to run away. You get the criminals, another way. A clarity would be like, hey, we're not going to regulate this. We're going, we just don't want you to do illegal things with it. That would be nice clarity. And the banks would say, oh, cool. Yeah, great. Let's play.
I don't know. Ben Ark, the guy in those shoes looks awful fast.
I mean, the economic momentum will just shift to the countries which don't regulate. So if they want all these countries, what you would, I suppose, historically have called third world countries, which embrace Bitcoin because it gets around sanctions and capital control. If they want to keep their edge as world leading countries, then they'll have to try and unregulate as much as possible Bitcoin because it's borderless. It doesn't care where it is. They don't have control over it. To be honest, I'm surprised Bitcoin's done as well as it's done when it comes to regulation. Like, it hasn't really been touched as hard as it could have been touched. No one's, the US also hasn't come out and said they're going to try and ban Bitcoin, which I think a lot of us were expecting. There's some big country which would ban Bitcoin. and that just hasn't happened. You know, China's mentioned it a few times, but then they've actually avoided it because they realize it's completely and utterly impossible. And actually, by banning it, you're proving its worth and value even more by the fact that people can just continue to use it anyway. Yeah, this Brian Armstrong, everything he says is just like the crypto stuff, man. It's you know, there was who's the guy who was on the Bitcoin group a couple of weeks ago? Carl Torpy. He came out with a great tweet, which got a couple of thousand likes. It was great, and it was just that, you know, crypto is cryptography. It's VPNs, you know, it's Proton Mail, it's Bitcoin, etc., etc., etc. It's not cryptos as in cryptocurrency, and for the CEO of Coinbase to be just coining that word to mean, you know, cryptos as in cryptocurrency is a disservice to all those geniuses like Hal Finney and Adam Back who worked on cryptography. They fought the crypto wars, the original crypto wars, where they were literally fighting for the freedom to be able to send an encrypted message through the internet. And look back at the crypto wars, like Adam Back, he used to print T-shirts with like cryptographic RSA stuff on. So, you know, a code for you to be able to like encrypt a message and then send it over a network. He used to print out T-shirts. And people
still sells T-shirts.
People would wear those T-shirts and get on planes and then physically travel to another country to make mockery of these laws, because the law was that cryptography was classed as a munition. So you could be charged as if you were like transporting a machine gun or something. The fact that you're just transporting the ability to send a private message to somebody else through a network. So when people use the word crypto for cryptocurrencies, they're doing a massive disservice to all of these people who fought the fight for cryptography and for public cryptography, you know, public access to cryptography for all those years. So yeah, no. Brian Armstrong is a fool. It's amazing that he's still where he is, and regulation's just going to fall flat on its arse, and just prove even more that, you know, Bitcoin's justification. You know, if they're trying to regulate it, it means it has some price, and at a time when cash is becoming more and more scarce. Like, you can't conduct a transaction privately.
Live streaming is on.
Yeah, fuck Brian Armstrong, motherfucker. Sorry. And
hey, so what would you call cryptocurrency in its short form then?
It has no short form. It's cryptocurrency, and there's Bitcoin, there's cryptocurrency, and then there's cryptography. Crypto is, you can't co-opt and you know, culturally appropriate this word crypto for cryptocurrency. It's just not right, particularly when a lot of those cryptocurrencies are in fact just spreadsheets. As someone in our chat just mentioned, you know, they're centralized spreadsheets, like XRP. Yeah, so yeah, don't use that word. Don't soil that word. And yeah, regulation is going to fall flat on its arse for Bitcoin. It's just going to justify its. And that's what I was saying. Particularly at a time when more and more people are having to use electronic payments because of obviously the COVID pandemic, yeah, we need in society, it seems, the ability to be able to send electronic payments in the real world, but a lot of people want to do it in a way which is like retains some privacy, and they're not exposing themselves every time they make a transaction. So Bitcoin's very valid, and just don't regulate it, please.
All right, circling back to the question, I do think it would be a big mistake for the lame duck administration to put in some kind of last minute December, January regulation on something as big as Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. We've talked about this several times in the past. If you over-regulate too quickly, you could kill the industry and force people to go away from your country. This already happened in a small example with New York State with the BIT license. They over-regulated, and many companies found it simpler to just say, block all IP addresses from New York. We're just not going to deal with that. And you don't want that to be the entire United States, especially with the decision made by a lame duck president. So I hope they don't do this. But that's the exit question. Josh Gagala, will the United States produce draconian cryptocurrency regulation within the last 2 months of this administration? Yes or no?
No. Probably not.
Oh, come on, be more fun. Ben Ark, yes or no?
What's that? Sorry.
Will the United States? Well, that's why I can't be typing. Will the
Sorry.
United States, implement this legislation, this regulation against cryptocurrency in the last 2 months? Yes or no?
It's the death throes, man. The death throes of a falling empire. Who knows? Trump's off his head, obviously. So I don't know. Who knows? I don't know.
Ben's getting it. The answer is yes. Of course they will. It'll be more fun, more exciting, more newspaper headlines, and maybe they'll even pardon the Tiger King. Pardon the Tiger King. Moving on to predictions or story of the week. Josh Kagala, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week?
Yeah. We have some negative trading fees on Voltoria. That's my story of the week. So that's fun to watch. Hopefully we get some people earning money while they're trading as market makers. And other story of the week is that
what does that mean for asking for a friend? Like, what's that actually mean?
Yeah. So when the market maker is someone that makes a market, as if you have a stall. And you have a stall of bananas and you say, this banana, I'm selling this banana for $1. You're making the market. And someone comes along in the market and says, yeah, I'll take that banana for $1. They're taking. So you have market makers and market takers. And if the taker then says, I'll give you 90 cents, they're actually making the market now because they're determining the price. So that's the market maker and taker. The thing is, the market makers add liquidity to a marketplace because they're setting a price, they're putting in the order book. So you want people to make the market. And market takers are taking orders away from they're taking orders out of the order book. So they're taking liquidity out. So we thought, well, let's promote the market making by charging the takers a small fee and giving it directly to the market makers. Instead of us taking it. And so now, instead of paying a fee, if you don't want to pay a fee while trading, you can place an order in the order book, in the Voltoria order book, and if it gets taken, then you actually earn the fee that the other person paid.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it's an experiment. Is that an experiment, or is that something you just think it's not justified?
Yeah, no. Some people have implemented it before, and I thought it was really interesting. And I think it's going to be industry standard after a while. Yeah.
Cool.
Ben Ark, prediction or story of the week.
Story of the week is I've been battling with my watch-only wallet extension, which I'm trying to make for LM Bits, and it will be cool when it's finished. It's using Stepan Snigarov's Python library mbit, which is absolutely phenomenal. Please do check out if you're building anything in Python which requires Bitcoin stuff, and that will give LM Bits the ability for people to be able to put in an XPub, and then it'd be kind of like a BTC Pay server affair. You'll be able to like order a charge, and then someone could pay in Lightning, or they could pay you on chain as well. Because we've seen some bigger transactions coming through LM Bits now, so clearly that's wanted. Excited for that, but it's also really hard because I suck at on-chain stuff. I'm more of a Lightning person, which I feel very guilty in saying, but yeah. And then what else? I mean, there's 0.21, which is coming out. That's great. There's a phenomenal installation by Crypto Graffiti, which is going to happen, which I can't talk too much about, but really looking forward to that. And that's pretty much, that's it, I think. I can't say anything about it. All I can say is it involves LM Bits, and it's absolutely badass.
So follow Crypto Graffiti on Twitter to stay up to date with that, or follow the World Crypto Network, or follow me, Jay Shigella. Or
follow us all.
Follow us.
Please
all.
like us all. We want friends. We haven't got any friends. So
on
that note of not having any friends, look, I'll literally pay you to be my friend. Look, here's some more sats. Okay, somebody grab this now. 10k sats. 10k sats.
10k sats.
Grab it. That's not that much money now. It's like a couple of quid, but in the future, I will look back at this video and I will wince in pain because that would be like $1,000 or something ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, we got 39 likes and 15 downvotes.
Come on, likes.
Come on, give us another. Let's try and reach 60.
Who are those downvoters? They're so mean.
next
It's
week.
ridiculous.
I mean, but yeah, next week I'm gonna figure out how we can start giving away more Lightning money.
You're doing it,
not
man.
only
LNURL. It's the way.
I
It's the
mean,
way.
you're right. This is the way to do it, right? But what I want to do is I really would love to get reward people for sharing this show on Twitter and liking and subscribing and all that jazz. So we've got to figure that out, how we can reward that.
We could make a bot which like some sort of bot. So if they I don't know, we could do it, but we could check to see if they've shared it on Twitter, and if they've shared it on Twitter, I don't know. You can't DM with Twitter bots. It's annoying. You could if they shared it and then put in the first Lightning address like after they shared it as a second tweet, we could then pay that Lightning thing. Maybe.
There you go. Let's think about that. For the folks at home, do it for free for us this week and next week. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, just give us a thumbs up and a share, subscribe down below. And a prediction, there will be many more mainstream media people coming along telling you what you should do with your Bitcoin. The only question you should ask them is, where were you this whole time? Why didn't you believe in Bitcoin earlier? And what's changed now? They probably don't have a very good answer. Thanks so much to everyone for joining us. Thumbs up and a share. Until next time, bye.
Adios.
Yay.